All right, power levels are nominal. Tachyon emitter is online. It looks like we're good, Mike.
All right, got it. Greetings, people of the past. This is Outpost 13, Transmission 3. I would like to preface this statement with an apology for such a late transmission. Due to a previous occurrence involving a duct breach by an irradiated ghoul, which in turn laid waste to our entire Melbatose supply, I was forced to venture into the out there to repair the broken duct. Upon nearing the breach, I happened upon a Yeti who had claimed the space for his own to weather out recent blizzards in our vicinity. Fortunately for me, I had my trusty Yeet manual on me, or Yeti to English emotive text, and was able to, with a few gestures, convey to the Yeti that I would be patching up the broken duct and that he would have to find somewhere else to weather the storm. Unfortunately, what I actually told him was that I was there to claim his fur as a trophy, as subtle mistakes in the Yeti language can make the world of a difference. After 4 days of being his prisoner, I was able to finally convey what I had initially meant to say, and I wound up working out a deal with Freddie. Yes, Freddie the Yeti. And instead of sealing the duct, Freddie helped me install a security door and is now employed at Outpost 13 as security in exchange for shelter. I feel we can all sleep safely again. And with that, I bring you Transmission 3, 1982's John Carpenter's The Thing. Hope you enjoy.
All right, thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Welcome back, everybody, all the people of the past. We're going to talk about The Thing today. And I'll bring up our slideshow so we could talk about it. The Thing from 1982, directed by John Carpenter, starring Kurt Russell, Keith David, Wilfred Brimley.
Oh boy, we got T.K. Carter, Richard Mazur, David Clennon, Donald Moffat, Joel Polis, Richard Dysart, Charles Hallahan, and Peter Maloney.
Yeah, great cast.
Mhm.
Now, the music also is great in this movie, done by Ennio Morricone, which, if you are fans of the Man with No Name trilogy, you probably know of his work. Um, shot in Alaska and Canada. I guess we could get into it right now if you guys are you ready, Mike?
I'm ready.
Okay. So The Thing, like we said, John Carpenter directed this movie. Uh, he wasn't interested initially of making this movie, but he was inspired by the treatment of I don't know if you have it written down, Mike. I forgot to write it down. Who wrote the screenplay for this?
John W. Oh, the screenplay. No, I
Yeah.
have I have who wrote the novella, not the screenplay.
Uh, yeah, we should have looked that up, I guess. But we were busy with the Yeti, okay?
We were very. I had my hands full.
But apologies to him, the one that wrote the screenplay. But there's a particular scene um, that inspired um, John Carpenter to actually go ahead and film this movie. It's a scene that we'll talk about later on, so I won't talk about it right now. Let's go through the clips here. Okay, you mentioned the novella.
Mhm.
Who goes there? The novella was written in the 30s by John W. Campbell
19.
Jr. Yeah, go ahead.
That was just 1938.
1938. Okay. Um, John Campbell is responsible for a lot of the golden age writers of science fiction. He was the editor for Amazing Magazine for a long stint of time. He also had some associations with Scientology, which I won't talk about because of who they are.
Yeah, we might get audited.
But this is a great book, a great novella. I definitely recommend it if you've never read the book. Um, this The Thing was made into a movie several times. The first one was from 1951, I think it was. The Thing from Another World, Howard Hawks. That's this film here, which is a classic of 1950s horror science fiction. This original movie does not follow the novella very closely. However, John Carpenter's version does, as well as the prequel movie that came out in 2011 has a similar storyline to it. And if you're a fan of the X-Files, there is an episode of the X-Files titled Ice. I think it's in season one, which also follows the story of who goes there. It's an excellent episode of the X-Files, so I recommend checking that one out too if you haven't seen it, or if it's been a while since you've watched the X-Files. That's a great episode.
It is really good episode.
Just an aside here, also, the this book was the companies were trying to make this into a movie like over and over again. The 1951 version was a hit. It's become nowadays a classic in the science fiction um, movie history. But there were several screenplays that the movie company, I think you said Universal, right, Mike?
Universal, yeah.
Um, they were trying to get this movie made for a long time, starting in like the early 70s. And there were several people that wrote screenplays for it, one of which was William Nolan, which in the copy of Who Goes There that I have, William Nolan's screenplay is also included in this version, along with
That's
yeah, with the novella, the John Campbell novella. William Nolan is known for as being the co-author of Logan's Run, um, which is another famous movie in science fiction. If you are a fan of sci-fi, so I just thought that's an interesting aside. Do you have anything to say about the story, Mike? About the novella?
no, I think you covered everything.
Okay.
You know, I love
Uh,
the cover art there. It
yeah, yeah.
kind of throws you into, you know, the mindset of the author himself,
It's a
probably.
lot. These covers that you found are a lot more interesting than the cover for mine. It's the cover of mine is just the ice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. They don't put as much effort into things these
yeah.
days, you know?
Um, yeah. These are some pretty cool covers. This monster with the three eyes or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, okay. The thing. This is the title card. The thing from Another World. The
Mhm.
title card from the 1951 film. John Carpenter, like I said, was a huge fan of the original movie. In fact, he was such a fan of it that in his movie Halloween, there's a cameo of the thing that they're watching on the television, which you could catch, if you're planning on watching Halloween sometime during this month of terrors.
Definitely.
um, this is the title card, and because he liked this movie so much, the title card for we'll get to the UFO in a second. The title card for the 1982 movie, if you notice, recreates the same title card, which is great. It looks like it's like burning up into the lettering, right?
Yeah, I believe the original, the thing from another world was basically a sheet that was the words were cut out of, and they literally put some smoke in the room and just shined a light from behind it, and were able to film it and use it as the intro. And you could definitely see it rubbed off on John Carpenter in a big way.
Hmm. Yeah, this is a cool title card. This reminds me also of, not to get off topic here, but if you've ever seen the movie Them
But
with
yeah,
the giant ants,
mhm,
they have another great title card in that one too.
definitely.
Okay, so there's the UFO, that the first scene in the movie. The UFO crash lands on Earth. They say hundreds of thousands of years ago. We don't know exactly how long ago it is, but this is how the movie starts out. So it crashes in Antarctica in the ice, and we'll see that spaceship again at some point a little bit down the line. And then here we have the 1982. I guess these are the posters, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
there would be the theatrical release posters.
Right. So I actually have the thing poster in my office hanging up. That's one of my posters that I have in the office, with the guy with the parka and the light coming out of his parka hood.
Initially, I hear John Carpenter didn't like the poster at all.
Is that right?
They went with it anyway, and it paid off because it's very original. You
It's
know,
iconic. I mean, everybody
it really
knows.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does he did he mention? Because I haven't heard that before. Did he mention why he didn't like the cover?
I didn't I read it when I was doing a little more research. There wasn't really a reason given. It just stated he wasn't really into what they were conveying.
Hmm.
That it looked too much like a slasher film, and he wasn't trying to go for that kind of feel.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
eventually,
it's that you mentioned that it's rather than a slasher, it reminds me of like And Then There Were None, right? Like
mhm,
almost like a murder mystery.
it really is Clue,
Yeah.
anything like that.
Yeah, like those, you're trapped in like a little environment and nobody knows who the killer is, right?
Yeah, yeah,
That's
and he
really what it is
get
when you
down.
think about it.
Yeah,
Yeah. And actually looking here, I can see actually the screenplay was written by Bill Lancaster. So let's
nice. Yeah, yeah.
let's make sure we give him the credit.
Shout out to Bill Lancaster for
Yeah,
writing.
he's the guy that gave John Carpenter the idea for the scene, which we'll look at later on, that inspired him to, excuse me, to make the movie.
Mhm.
And then this is the poster for the 2011 prequel um, movie that follows the events that happened directly before John Carpenter's version. So the 2011 movie follows the all of the stuff that happened in the Norwegian camp that we see the after effects of in John Carpenter's movie. Anything else you want to say about the posters, Mike?
No, no, you covered it, man.
All right,
It's
great.
great.
Okay, here's the title cards again, back to back, so you can see how similar they are. All right, and then right after the UFO scene, we cut to Husky running through this what's supposed to be the Antarctic wastes of the Antarctic ice desert
The
here.
tundra.
So this husky is seems to be running away from something, and the thing that we find that he's running away from is a helicopter that is chasing and trying to kill the dog. So he's has a rifle that he's shooting at, and then he has like a box full of these thermal like explosives or something.
Yeah, I
That
think they're like thermite grenades or
Mhm.
something along those lines. Canister grenades.
Yeah, I guess for like making cutting through the ice or something. Um, so here you can see this. This is supposed to be someone from a Norwegian science facility that's in Antarctica. He's chasing this dog. Um, I guess we don't have any of the intermediate.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. While that's happening, we're introduced to some of our main characters. This is obviously Kurt Russell, and we are introduced to his character through this scene where he's drinking from a giant bottle of J&B whiskey.
Hmm.
Um, he grabs some ice from a bag or something or a bucket and puts them into the glass, and then he pours
Or
himself.
outside the front door.
Yeah, right. Right. And he's playing chess with a chess computer, um, which is called the Chess Wizard.
Mhm.
And I have something to say a little bit about the chess game that he's playing. The first thing is he's playing the Chess Wizard. I believe in the 80s, the types of computer programs that were around uh, were not that good at chess. So people would regularly beat chess computers back then. Um, this is obviously a made up version of a chess computer, the Chess Wizard. But an interesting thing about this Chess Wizard computer is it was the voice of the computer is voiced by John Carpenter's then wife, Adrienne Barbeau,
Barbeau.
who I'm sure will explore some of her movies in the future here on Outpost 13. And I want to bring up a little bit of, I want to say something about the game that Mac is playing here. So let me see if I can just stop the screen share for a second here. And I want to show you the game that he's playing. And I have to thank everyone for indulging me on this because I enjoy playing chess. I'm terrible at it, but I have another channel that's about gaming, so I have to talk about chess here.
Yeah,
This,
the gaming cabinet.
yeah, the game
Get to it.
cabinet. Um, so this is the first screen that we see on the chess computer. This is the position, and now it's not clear at first whether McCready is playing black or white. I think at the end it's meant for him to have been playing white. You'll see why in a second. So the this is the screen that they show, and then Mac makes a move. He like presses some buttons on the keyboard, and the move that he makes is let's see, I wrote it down here. Bishop to knight four. So if you look at the screen here, I don't know, can you see my pointer, Mike? Does that show
Yeah,
up?
yeah, you're
Okay.
showing up.
So he moves the first move that Mac makes is bishop to knight four. But if you look at the setup here, the only way that that would make sense, because the white pieces don't have a bishop, right? And the only way that a bishop can move to knight four is this bishop taking the pawn over here. Which, a couple things about that, that's a bad move because
Terrible.
you just lose your bishop. The pawn takes the bishop. Um, but then the next move that the chess wizard supposedly makes is knight to rook three, and the only way that that can happen is if the white knight moves to rook three over here. There's no other option for that, right? This is the only way,
Yeah.
which also is a terrible move because then the knight will just get taken by
A
Macready's
pawn.
bishop. Yeah,
Yeah.
not by the pawn, by the bishop, because the bishop, I'm assuming, took the pawn over here,
Oh yeah, I get what you're saying.
right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's stupid because instead of the white taking the bishop, he moves the knight and hangs the knight for the bishop to take in the next move, or even the queen can take it too.
Yeah.
But then, so after this, then the next move is king to rook one, and white just moved, so there's no way for the black king to move to rook one. It's just not possible. So it has to be the white king that moves to rook one, which doesn't make sense because white's not allowed to move twice in a
Yeah.
row,
Yeah.
right? But anyway, assuming then that Mac is the white pieces, I guess he moves to rook one, which would be down here, and then the computer says rook to knight six checkmate. So first of all, there's no way for the black rooks to move to knight six. First of all, nor the white rook can't move anywhere. But then the next scene that we see, the next position that we see is this one. Does that show up, or do I have to reshare my screen?
It's not showing up.
Let me reshare it. Okay, does that show up now?
Yep, you got it.
Okay, so this is the next position that we see on the chess computer. And notice this is a completely different position.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. There's no connection
There's
between,
pieces that have disappeared.
yeah,
It,
there's just no connection, right, to what the game that he was just playing. Now, and the other thing is, notice that the computer supposedly moved what was it, rook to knight six.
Mhm.
There's a rook over here on uh this is on knight four, not on knight six, first of all. But this position is not checkmate. It is checkmate in one. The queen would have to move to rook four, and that would be checkmate. But the computer says after the rook move that it's checkmate, and obviously it's not. So I think I agree with Mac when he calls the computer a cheating bitch.
Yeah. It's a bitch.
But I think more importantly, I'm not just being a pedant here about talking about the game. I think what this shows, like if you're paying attention, right?
Mhm.
John Carpenter John Carpenter didn't really care all that much about the details,
Yeah.
because he could very easily have just looked up an actual chess game and had it make sense.
Yeah. Or just phone someone he knows that's good
Yeah,
at this.
call up Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah. There you go.
So I think what this shows is that people look a lot into the mysteries that are in this movie,
Mhm.
which is fun to do, but I'm not exactly sure that John Carpenter even really knew the answers to those mysteries.
I have a feeling, a lot of films start out, they'll have their screenplay. It's flushed out for them. But when it comes down to it, I know movies tend to take on a different life than what the screenplay originally was.
Hmm.
So, things get added, things get changed, things get forgotten about, and continuity then, doesn't quite add up in a lot of films.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you got to accept it for what it is. It's fantasy, but yeah, this is blatant. This chess game makes no sense.
Yeah. So if you know anything about chess, if you're paying attention, it just you're like, what?
Yeah.
But that's what I'm, like the details. I'm not like if there's like a continuity mistake or something, in the mise en scene or something. I don't necessarily know that it was intentional or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, but
There's no
but it's
Easter eggs to be looking for here, I don't think.
it's fun to speculate, though, right? I mean,
Definitely.
yeah.
Definitely.
So anyway, I just wanted to talk about the chess game because I think it's an interesting point about the movie. So let me bring up the slideshow again. Here we go. Okay, so Chess Wizard, voiced by Adrian Barbeau, and Mac loses and he calls the computer a cheating bitch, and then he pours his J and B into the innards and destroys the
He,
computer,
he
which I
killed
think
that cheating bitch.
right, which I think also kind of leads to some characterization for McCready in that when he's in a lost position, I think he doesn't seem to mind just blowing up the game, right?
Yeah.
So which if you look at the end, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
The end of the movie, I mean, right? So here's the thermal grenade or whatever it is, whatever it is that the Norwegian guy is following the dog, throwing these grenades at him.
Mhm.
And he lands the helicopter and tries to take aim at the dog, which is running towards the American camp
Mhm.
that where all of our main characters are, McCready included. And once he lifts his gun and attempts to fire um, into the crowd, this is one of our main characters. This is Gary, who
Mhm.
is a military. He's the military person that's in charge of um, the American camp here, right? The American
And I
station.
think actually it was, let me see, sorry. Who got shot in the leg? It was
Oh, it's
Bennings.
Bennings. Bennings gets
Bennings
shot in
got
the leg.
shot in the
Yes,
leg in that scene, and
right.
it'll after this they patch him up. But just to bring it back, because I was unable to get a still of when the pilot of the helicopter is fumbling to grab a grenade, he actually drops it in the snow next to the
Yes, yes.
and he fumbles in the snow to get it. And the gentleman we saw with the gentleman, he just murdered, one of our friends here, but or at least his leg. But the guy who's basically shooting at our camp here, he gets away, but the guy in the chopper doesn't, and the whole chopper explodes.
Hmm.
That's what you saw in the background there with
Yeah, it's a big
image with him.
explosion.
Yeah.
And Gary shoots the intruder right through the eye, killing him instantly.
You'll put your eye out.
And the dog runs to one of our characters here as well. This is Clark, who is apparently more a lover of the Huskies than he is of his compatriots in
Yeah. I
the
think he's our dog handler
right,
at
right.
the station.
Yeah,
So
so he really cares for the dogs, and the dog runs right to him, and Clark takes him in, and so on, which will be important, for the paranoia later on.
oh yeah.
Right, so here they're putting out the fire of the helicopter that just blew up. And after all of this stuff happens, this is two more of our characters that we're introduced to. This is Windows, who's sitting at the radio, and in the back we have the resident biologist, played by Wilford Brimley. His name in the movie is Blair, and they're trying to contact the main American outpost in Antarctica, which is McMurdo Station, which is still the case today. McMurdo is the big station that we have down in Antarctica, and we have little, satellite outposts, all through the continent. So here he's trying to raise McMurdo Station to tell them what happened and to maybe get some people to come over and help them out and so on. But communication is notoriously difficult in Antarctica because there's no transmitting towers and so on, right? So nowadays I believe we rely on satellites, so they have special like satellite phones that they
Yeah.
use
Yeah.
to
Like a
contact each
GPS
other.
phone or
Yeah,
I know back then they just didn't have the technology. It was pretty much if a storm came through, you had no contact with the outside world, and you're in Antarctica where it's just consistent storms. So
Right. So here, Windows is telling Blair that no one's contacted anyone in months. Like I don't, so he's like, I can't. I'm trying to raise people. No one's there. So that's the scene. So they're trying to raise, to get some help, but clearly we're cut off. So we're isolated by ourselves in this, right? So we're setting up the mystery. We're setting up
yeah, there's no connection now. They're all alone.
Yep. Oh, here's McMurdo Station. They don't show this in the movie, but this is,
Yeah, it's just an actual
yeah.
photo of the sign outside. It's a few. It's probably what would you say? How many kilometers from our outpost?
Oh, McMurdo Station. It's about what, maybe 200 kilometers, something like that.
Yeah, yeah. So
It's a
we're not.
long walk. You got to take,
It's definitely a haul. Yeah,
yeah. uh, I think we've only made our way out there for supplies like once or twice.
yeah.
It's a ghost town these days, but uh,
Frightening.
mhm. uh, then we have this scene in the game room with, this is another one of our characters. This is Palmer, who's the resident hippie, I guess, smoking a joint.
And I'll tell you what, Palmer does not run out of weed in this movie.
Well, you know
He
that
is always smoking.
McCready's got his J and B. Palmer has his weed. You got to bring your supply down there. There's no, you can't just call somebody up, right?
That's true. You're in trouble if you run out.
But it's funny. He in this scene, he makes a reference to Eric von Daniken's "Chariot of the Gods," right?
Carry it to the gods.
Yeah. Uh,
Wonderful book.
and
If
he
anyone
says,
out there has not read it, please pick it up and read it.
"What is his line is, he's talking about aliens, and he's like, they practically owned South America."
Hmm.
Um, yeah. So that's the resident stoner. And I want to say something about the game room too, but maybe I'll do that later on when we have a better
Hmm.
shot of the game
Yeah,
room.
we do have one coming up.
Yeah. So here the person that's on the table covered in the sheet is the Norwegian that got shot, and Copper is the guy with the Dr. Copper is the one with the towel on his shoulder. He's the resident doctor for the station, I guess.
I love his gold nose ring.
Yeah, yeah. What's up with that? That's so weird, right?
I'm looking at him. I'm like, does he really have a gold nose ring? A hoop, nonetheless.
Is that I thought I hallucinated that. I was like,
No,
was it
that's
really?
real.
So
That's real.
weird.
For 82. That's weird,
Yeah, that's
especially a
that's
guy his age.
right. Yeah, that's he's ahead of his time, I guess.
Oh yeah.
But let me just talk about the characters that we see here because there's some new ones. On all the way on the right, we have Gary. And I think is Max standing next to him? Like, no, that's Fuchs
Yeah, that's
standing next to
Fuchs. Yeah,
Gary.
yeah, yeah.
Then we have Dr. Copper. Then we have Childs, and then Bennings, and then
We
Norris.
had Boris. Yep.
Norris. So these are some more of our characters. Bennings is the guy that got shot in the leg, and right before the scene, Dr. Copper was stitching up his bullet wound.
Yeah.
Right. Let me bring our beautiful faces back up. Okay, so then after that scene, Dr. Copper says, "I want to go over to the Norwegian camp to see what happened because they want to know what drove this guy crazy. Maybe he has like cabin fever, or what happened to the other people in the camp." Right? So him and McCready take a helicopter ride over to the other camp. Which, speaking about this set here, an interesting um, little tidbit. The Norwegian camp is actually the American camp. We're talking about the set, right? The movie set.
Mhm.
After they destroyed at the end. Spoilers.
Yeah. So
So
so they saved on production costs by using the same location shot from a different angle. They filmed this scene, you know, uh, basically after they had filmed the scene where they destroyed the American camp. So
right.
they were able to utilize that destruction and not have to build a second set. It's really smart if you think about it because you
Mhm.
couldn't tell from this angle.
Yeah, because they did have money issues during the making of this movie too, so they had to be kind of clever about
Yeah.
what they did. Speaking of which, originally the special effects budget for this movie I think was allotted to be like $750,000, but it ended up going over budget. And at the end, I think it ended up being like 1.7 million that they spent just on special effects,
It shows.
which
I
is
mean,
money well spent.
yeah.
When we get to the scenes, but
Mhm.
Rob Botton's special effects are one of the main draws to this
Oh,
movie.
yeah, most
So
definitely.
yeah. Okay, and then here we have some scenes from inside the Norwegian camp. There's this special effect here. This is one of the members of the Norwegian team who supposedly committed suicide, um, and it's a great prop. There's like blood dripping and frozen like into
Yeah, blood
icicles from
sickles. Yeah,
yeah,
kind of
and
dangling.
the neck is like slit uh pretty deep, and so but they're um Dr. Copper and McCready are like, what the hell happened here?
Yeah, there's blood all over the snow. They have no idea what's going on.
Hmm. And this is Carpenter wanted to get this scene as a reference back to the original 50s era movie, where they let the bad guy, right, the big bad in the movie, they let him defrost in the ice, and he
Yeah, they put a blanket over top of it.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
So he wanted to have that a version of that scene in this movie. So you see this block of ice, and we'll see where the block of ice came from a little bit down the line.
Mhm.
With the middle of it is defrosted. It looks like an ice coffin. That's
Yeah,
something,
sarcophagus. Yeah.
yeah, something that was born from the ice. And maybe part of the mystery that we're about to head into.
Oh, yeah. Some scary things around the corner in this here movie.
Okay, and then heading outside of the Norwegian camp, they come across what seems to be a burnt partial person. They're not really sure what to make of it. It's
It's like an amalgamation. It's like a person. It's like four people fused together. There's different faces coming off of it. There's arms where legs should be. It's
it,
it's pretty grotesque.
it's a great prop.
Definitely.
Yeah, but they come across this thing and they're like, "What is this?" So they decide to take it back to their camp so that they can let Blair take a look at it because he's
Mhm.
the biologist. Right, and here we are back at the American camp, and you can see this is the part of the creature that they just took back to the camp. You can see how it's like, it looks like two people fused together. It's this crazy looking thing.
Like it was
Uh,
killed mid transformation or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, they find like empty kerosene bottles near it, and apparently the Norwegian camp had set it on fire.
Mhm.
And when they unwrap the creature, because they had it wrapped in like um a towel or something, not a towel, like a canvas or something.
Yeah, yeah, like a body drape.
Yeah, and they open it, and all these noxious fumes are drifting off of the body, and you could see the look on everybody's faces, at how pungent the smell is. And actually, listening to the commentary by John Carpenter and Kurt Russell, which is on my Blu-ray copy of the movie, they said that they didn't have to act this scene out because the mist that is coming off of that, which is a special effect, had a very harsh odor, so the,
Mhm.
the the looks on their faces were real because
Getting a genuine reaction. There's no
yeah,
better way to act.
yeah, I guess that nowadays they have less less toxic stuff to do this kind of thing, but
Yeah.
back then that's what they used. I remember there being a scene in Dark Star, which is also another John Carpenter movie, um, where they have their dead captain in like cryogenic freeze,
Mhm.
and to shoot that scene they had misted like kerosene or something that they
Oh,
used to
gee.
make the mist, and it was the same thing there. I think the actor that I think it was Pinback, which was the character that goes down there, said that he was like sick for like a month afterward for like breathing in all the kerosene and stuff.
The hazard you face.
Yeah. Hopefully things are safer nowadays.
Yeah, now you could just use dry ice.
Yeah. So this is another, I guess, another picture of the creature that they recovered. And here you can see Blair doing an autopsy, and when he does the autopsy, you don't get the effect from just the still shot here.
Oh, not at
In
all.
addition, there's like the sounds, right? The like squishing sounds of him like taking the organs out of the body and stuff.
Yeah.
And when this movie first came out, it was not well received. It was
Oh, it actually lost John Carpenter his next project.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, unfortunately, it was so ill received whatever, I don't know the project, but it was canceled. And it's
People thought it was gruesome just for the sake of being gruesome. People
body horror.
Yeah, like people just I don't know, it got panned by all the critics. It was not well received at all. Nowadays it's crazy to think about that because it's such a like a classic, right? Everybody loves the thing. Um
Exactly. It
but
was
the
a slow burner, I guess,
Yeah, well, it's also a testament I think to Rob Bottin's special effects that it's so, people had such were so affected by it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway, in this scene, Blair Wilford Brimley is taking like the organs because he's doing an autopsy, taking the organs out of this thing, and
Mhm.
he's saying, "These are just regular human organs. There's nothing
Yeah,
abnormal about them,"
yeah.
which is, you know,
Everything lines
mildly
up.
mildly strange because of the thing that he's taking it out
It definitely doesn't look human.
of. Right. So here we have a better shot of the game room, which I think it's such a great game room that they have. They have like I think they have like Galaga or something in
Yeah,
the back.
yeah.
They got
See
a
the cabinet back there?
Yeah, pool table. They got a bar in the back. They got a
Pinball
jukebox.
machine.
Yeah, pinball machine. They obviously they're playing cards there.
It's
Um,
cool. It's a cool room.
yeah, it's a nice little game room.
I'd like to have a
Wish
basement
I
like
had something like that. Yeah. All they're missing is a foosball table.
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so this is the scene where so the dog that started the movie out, right, has been just roaming around the camp on like not being watched, not unmonitored, right?
Yeah, they just kind of have him. I think he's laying under a table in that room right now.
Yep. And actually he ends up biting Bennings under the table, and Bennings, says, "Can you get rid of this dog or
Yeah.
put him back with the other dog?"
Clark, get this damn dog out of here.
Right, right. Um, Before this scene, however, I just want to say something. 'Cause I think, wait, is it before this? Yeah, it has to be before this scene. Um, there's a scene before this where the dog is by itself, and it's a night scene, so people, I guess, they're sleeping or whatever. And
Mhm.
there's a scene which unfortunately we don't have clips of here,
Uh,
where the dog walks through the hallway. He stops for a minute, looks into another room, and then goes into another room where we see on one of the walls a shadow of one of the people.
yeah, it's a silhouette, and it's kind of hard to make out. I watched that a few times over
Mhm.
just to kind of see if I could tell the hair shape and
John Carpenter purposely used someone else that was
uh-huh.
not one of the people
Can't
for
tell.
that scene, so that you wouldn't be able to tell who it
A good
was.
move. That's a good
Yeah.
move.
But anyway, I just wanted to give a shout out to that dog. He was such a good actor. Like,
Yeah.
uh,
Well trained.
um, I think his name was like Jeb or something. The dog that played the husky here.
Beautiful dog. I
Yeah,
love
but
huskies.
that's a great scene though. Like, the dog walks into the room and then it cuts to this scene, I think.
Hmm.
Um, so you know, if we didn't know before, now we kind of have the feeling that maybe one of the people is a thing.
Yeah.
And so Clark takes the husky to the cage where they keep all the other huskies, and he tells him go in. And the dog reluctantly goes in, lays down in the middle,
Hmm.
and some of these scenes the huskies are fake. And some of
Yeah.
them they're real, which is why the lighting changes, because the scenes where they used the fake husky, they said that the fur just made it look fake.
Yeah,
So
it's
that
probably the one in the foreground here.
um,
Oh, that's probably why they have it darkly lit.
maybe, yeah. So that's why the lighting changes, because they had to like light it dimly so that the fakeness didn't, wasn't apparent.
Mhm.
So the dogs are, just hanging out. Then they start barking at their new
Their new companion.
yeah, and his face opens up like a flower.
Oh, yes, it does. It's a
And
great
this is a crazy scene. This is, again, Rob Bottin did a great job on the special effects here.
practical
All
special
practical
effect.
special effects. Uh,
Amazing.
those are the good old days when all the effects were practical, and
Yeah.
um,
Gave it more realism. You felt like it was in the room with you.
yeah, or even if it wasn't realistic, it had a charm to it.
Exactly.
Uh,
There was definitely something to it. Somebody created it. It wasn't assisted by technology other than the technology they built with their hands, you know.
mhm.
It's amazing all the different bladders they would use and wires and blood pumping components and just an art form among to itself.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting to learn about that stuff, like how they did everything. Here, the scene is crazy though. That there's like whips that come out of the dog and start like,
Yeah, the tendrils they just
yeah,
start
like
wrapping all
wrapping
around.
around the other dogs, and uh, it like mutates into this crazy looking monster.
Yeah, it's pretty hideous.
Yeah, it like sprouts like crab legs.
Yeah, and it starts spraying like
That's right. Uh,
this hose like spray at the
I
dogs.
feel so bad for that dog in that scene too. Like he's
Yeah,
trying to bite through the fence, and
uh-huh. You could
then he
tell he
gets,
was really frightened.
yeah.
in the scene.
Um, that just a fun fact. That stream of stuff that the thing shoots out at the husky. That stream of liquid, whatever it is, apparently is what they used in to make Twinkies. They use it to like bind the like cakes
Really?
together or something.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
funny.
I forget what the chemical is called, but
Yeah,
it's yeah, they use that for all like the goo and stuff.
yeah, that's great.
This is Clark seeing this scene
Clark
unfold
is
before him.
I think Clark may have evacuated into his pants at this point.
And while all this is happening, the dogs are barking and everything. And McCready goes up to like the refrigerator or something to get something to drink, and he hears all this happening, and he runs to the cage to see. Actually, he pulls the alarm, and then he
Yeah, he
runs.
pulls a fire alarm.
Yeah.
Everybody comes out into the hall,
Hmm.
freaking out.
This is another photo of
Yeah.
one of the iterations of the monster.
Oh, yeah.
um, I think in this scene, one of these effects was not done by Rob Bottin. It was done by somebody else, because I think Bottin had other commitments
Okay.
for certain scenes.
Hmm.
I forget. I apologize. I forget who the other special effects person was, but I
Yeah,
think
I don't know offhand either.
one of these shots, one of these apparatuses was made by somebody else. Here we see Childs after they've everyone is gathered around the dog kennel, and they run. Who is it? Is it Windows? Who runs to Childs and says, um, Mac wants the flamethrower?
I think it was Windows.
Was it
Yeah,
Windows?
I think so.
Um, it's just funny to like they have so many flamethrowers in the
They're just a Arctic station loaded with flamethrowers.
yeah,
I
just
guess it could come in handy if you're trying to clear a runway or something,
maybe, yeah.
but still, I don't.
Yeah, and Childs is like, Mac wants a what? And he gets the flamethrower and he torches the thing. Um, so that's the end of that scene. And afterward, well, of course, we gotta have the gyro, right?
The juice is good, huh?
You liking the juice?
I bring you the juice.
Um, oh, this scene, this is, I think, out of order, right? When do they look at this? They look at it when they came back from the. 'Cause we forgot to talk about this. They
Mhm.
they look at the video from the Norwegian camp when they come back, right?
Yeah, yeah.
and they're watching the video,
Well,
and
watching the video of the Norwegian camp, yeah, was what led them to go search for what they see in the video.
right
Which they go find that after this.
after it. Okay, so
Huh.
this is okay. So yeah, the video. If you're familiar with the original movie from the 50s, there's a famous scene where the characters go to the this point in the ice shelf, and there's something obviously buried under the ice, and they try to stand around the perimeter of the thing,
Kind
and
of
you
like
can
Hands Across America,
right, and you can see that the
joint
shape
hand.
is like a saucer shape, which
Uh-huh.
is it's that's a famous scene.
Yeah. And in this film that they're watching in this movie, they actually allude to that scene.
Mhm.
It's a panning shot, however, they show them all standing in a circle as they pan. So they
Mhm.
did allude to, they did a throwback to the original movie.
Which I'm
But
glad to see,
oh
because
yeah,
that's
definitely.
such a great scene. Um, so they having seen where the Norwegian camp found, they found this thing, whatever, they decide to go and check it out, and you get to see the spaceship here buried in the ice. This is
What
the
a sight to see.
yeah, this imagine
Oh man.
this is the spaceship that crashed on in Antarctica at the beginning of the movie. So, what however many hundreds of thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
Um, so this is them on top of the spaceship, and
And just to note real quick, in the original movie, once they find the ship, they use thermite charges to try to
they
melt
blow
the
it up.
ice, and they
Yeah,
blow the ship up.
they blow the ship up. Yeah,
And it's very very upsetting. Like you didn't foresee that, but
it's like
yeah,
this find of a lifetime.
yeah, and it's just gone.
So here they rappel down and go on top of the ship, and after they visit the ship, they come back up and they see this rectangular shaped chunk of ice that's been obviously taken out, which is about the size of the chunk of ice that the ice coffin that they found, Mac and Copper found back
Mhm,
at the Norwegian camp. So obviously something slithered out of the spaceship, crawled in the ice, and ended up freezing there for until the Norwegian camp dug it up.
mhm.
Right, and here we have Mr. Brimley.
My
This
man
is
Wilfred.
this is Blair checking his blood sugar.
Do you have diabetes?
That's
You need
why
some Quaker oats.
that's why I choose Quaker Oats.
Mm,
So, yeah, joking aside, he's looking at like a simulation of how the biology of the alien life form works. So, the illustrations here are so charming.
yeah, the
80s.
red is the intruder. It's the basically the dog cell. Well, the thing's cellular makeup.
Hmm.
In the actual clip, which we can't play, but it shows that V-shaped red cell assimilating the other cells and basically taking them over and them becoming a part of the original, the cell intruder.
Yeah, we apologize that we can't show clips, but YouTube, will
Yeah, you
it
know,
doesn't like when you show clips. So
YouTube, you know.
yeah, so he's watching this simulation, and then I guess the computer does some analysis and says that the probability that one or more of the team members is infected is 75%, and that Blair realizes what that means. And furthermore, it says that if the organism reaches a civilized area, then the entire world population will be infected in like 3 or 4 years, so 27,000 hours from first contact.
Entire population. That's fast.
Yeah. So obviously that affects Blair, and he realizes that they're they have to do something, right? That they can't let this thing reach another civilized area.
Mhm.
And this is the pistol in his drawer.
That's really what COVID was.
Speaking of which, I actually wanted to talk about something that John Carpenter and Kurt Russell talk about in the commentary for the movie, because that is a theme of the movie is infection, right? Like
Yeah, yeah,
infectious disease. When this
definitely.
movie first came out, was when the AIDS virus first showed up.
Uh-huh.
In everybody, in the news and everybody's mind.
Yeah, it
No
was.
one really
Oh,
knew much about it. You couldn't tell who had it, right?
mm,
And the only way that you could check to see if you were infected is by a blood test.
yeah,
And they make the analogy there in the commentary saying, these ideas are in the air, right?
yeah, yeah.
And I guess we don't really have to say much more of that about that because
Like
we just
it's
went
like
through COVID, right?
yeah, it's like an applied social commentary,
Yeah, yeah.
very discreetly, you
Not, I
know.
mean, not to equate COVID with AIDS. They're two
No,
different
no, no.
things, but similar type, right?
It's
Yeah,
definitely, yeah. There's
I remember
fear. There
uh
was the fear in the
ri
80s, because no one
riding.
what it
Yeah,
was.
yeah, right. People didn't know. Just people thought maybe you can get it from toilet seat, or
Yeah,
nobody.
the air,
Yeah, there was a lot of
touch
paranoia
people.
about it.
You know?
Yeah. Just like I remember riding the train during when COVID first came out, and if somebody coughed or sneezed, you got all the dirty looks from everyone on the
Oh
train,
yeah, you're holding it in. Your eyes are watering. Like it's just a normal cough. I swear, I'm not infected.
right? Yeah, and people are pulling out flamethrowers on you.
That's it. I mean, they're everywhere. Apparently.
Yeah, so that is something that they talk about on the commentary. So that's a good point to talk about that. But, okay, so they realize after they see, the spaceship and everything, that they have to put they take all of the versions of the thing that they have and put them into a storeroom, and they're going to lock up the storeroom. So they're moving like all their important stuff out of the storeroom so that they can keep the bodies there. Um,
And they
and
also stated, I just wanted to,
yeah.
so there was a good quote there, and they're like, why don't we just burn what we got? Because
Mhm.
they wanted to get rid of it. And I can't remember who says it,
It's
but
Bennings.
it's Bennings
Yeah, Bennings is
says
like
we can't burn the
the
find of the
find of a lifetime.
century.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's going to win someone the Nobel Prize.
Yeah.
So they didn't want to get rid of it.
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Very true. I don't think anyone won the prize.
But anyway, he Bennings is like moving something out, and he's like, "Get the keys from Gary." Windows, says, "Let's go," and Bennings says, "Get the keys from Gary because I want to move some stuff out of here." So Windows goes and gets. So it's not established until right now. The only person that has the keys for the station is Gary, right?
Yeah,
He's the guy that runs the
he's the
whole
guy that
show.
presides over that
Right.
part.
So
Yeah.
Windows goes to get the keys from Gary. When he comes back, though, he sees that on the chair that Bennings was standing on, his clothes are on there, and they're covered in blood.
Tattered.
Right. And he turns around and he sees this.
Yeah.
So apparently the corpse of the infected things were not dead just by burning them. There was still live matter in them, and while Windows was gone, it started taking over Bennings. So Windows drops the keys, runs out the door, and to alert the other people, he runs to Mac, and he says it's Bennings.
And that's an important thing because you do hear the keys fall.
You do. They
They
make
make
a
a
point.
point. They make
They
a
make,
point at showing Windows coming in, flipping the keys.
yep.
They make a point at being very audible that the keys
The
have
keys
fallen to the
dropped.
ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know. I
That's
don't know.
Windows just recoiling in horror.
Oh, okay. They named him Windows, by the way, because of the glasses that he wears, that his
Yeah.
character wears. So Bennings runs out the window. They catch him in mid transformation. He runs out into the snow, and this is a fantastic scene as well. They when they catch him, Bennings falls to his knees on the ground. He hasn't yet finished his transformation. They surround him, and he looks at Mac, and he gives this like blood curdling like noise, just
Yeah.
inhuman,
It's
guttural.
it's a sound of its own.
Yeah.
There's nothing really like it. But
uh
you were saying earlier reminded you of
It reminds me of, yeah, the 70s version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, when the pods took someone over and they noticed someone who was not, one of the alien pods. They would point and make like a guttural, like a blood curdling sound too. That reminds me of this.
Definitely.
It's such a like creepy scene.
And I'll also note here, this is a prime shot because there's a theory going around that at the end of the movie, you don't see somebody's breath in the cold
Yes.
because they're the thing. Now, I don't think this gentleman is human anymore at this point.
Yeah.
He's clearly the thing, and he's clearly pushing out a lot of breath. You see his breath, you see the mist in the air. So I think that theory is a little debunked if you want to go, to that level with that, because he's clearly breathing. He's clearly, still having a human trait of breath. So
Hmm. And there are other like theories too that I've heard from people, like the people that are the thing have like a shine in their eyes, or people that are
yeah,
human have a shine in their
the,
eyes.
the, the
One
people
thing,
that are infected have no gleam in their eye.
right?
It's just dark, dead eyes. But
I don't know if I
that's
believe.
disproven
Yeah,
too.
I don't know if I believe any of those
And I'll show
theories.
you in the future where that's going to be debunked as well.
Okay. I think there was one more thing I wanted to say about this, if I can remember what it was now. um, I don't know. I don't remember. It left my brain. Maybe I'll come back to it if I remember what I was going to say. But then they burn Bennings, right? So that they have the flamethrower, they burn Bennings. Um,
They knocked down some canisters of gasoline next to him,
right.
or jet fuel maybe, and
Yeah, maybe the fuel for the helicopter or whatever.
yeah,
And they burn him with the flamethrower. Okay, and after that scene, after they burn him, um, just going back to that scene before we get to this, Mac stays behind for Windows. Windows says something to him. I forget, but McCready says, "Go, you go ahead. I'll be in there in a minute." And Windows goes back into the station, and McCready starts to walk back to the door, and he hears a noise, and he turns, and he sees well, it's not clear who it is,
mhm,
but it seems like it's Blair, right?
yeah,
And Blair runs from the helicopter, and
yeah. It's like a scurrying. He scurries across the pathway.
right, and he runs into the station. So McCready goes to the helicopter to see what he was doing, and whoever it was, we assume it's Blair, but whoever it was, sabotaged the helicopter. He destroyed the whole instrumentation on the
All,
helicopter,
all the wires out, and it was a
and
mess.
we hear a gunshot, and Mac runs into the station to see what was going on. And this is what's going on. Wilford Brimley is going crazy.
That's, his blood sugar is way too high.
So Blair is destroying the radio room, and he's like yelling while he's doing it. He's like, "You think the thing wants to be an animal? It wanted to be us." So he knows that nobody, that he can't let anybody get out if he or get in contact with people. So he's destroying the radio room. Windows is cowering in the corner with a like a blow on his head.
Mhm.
I don't know if that was done by Blair or if he fell down or something.
Yeah, it seems like he probably tried to intervene and was like kind of brushed into the corner, maybe
Yep.
an elbow, or
Blair is just not having any shit. He's just
yeah, destroying the entire room.
yep. So all of the crew comes and gathers outside the door. They're being very careful though, because Blair has a gun and he's obviously shooting it. So
Mhm.
um, they gather outside. Oh, I guess we don't have a shot of
Uh,
that. There is a fun fact that I want to talk about in that scene where they're gathered outside before they rush Blair here and get the axe out of his hand. When they're gathered outside of this room, there's a scene where Keith David, who plays Childs, runs and sort of like hides behind McCready, and he's hiding his his left arm behind McCready. And the reason for that is the actor himself, Keith David, uh, got into a car crash before they filmed that scene, and he had a cast all over his arm. So they covered it with his coat, and they had to paint the top of the cast brown to blend in with his skin, so it wasn't obvious that it was a cast. And you see that he hides it behind.
Tries to conceal it. Yeah.
Yeah, tries to conceal it. And actually, there's a bunch of scenes where if you notice, his arm is it doesn't move out of this position because,
The
yeah,
fake hand, right?
yeah. Just a tidbit. If you're watching the scene, just look out for that and you'll notice it. So
Awesome.
anyway, they tell Windows go get a table from the storeroom or something, and he
Mhm.
brings in the table, and they rush Blair with the table. He hits it with the axe, but they're able to disarm him.
And
Uh,
just to note, it's the flimsiest table you could
yes,
like
yeah,
one of those really thin fiberboard tables.
right, yeah.
It worked though.
It's like the types of tables that they would set up in like high school in like the gym when you
Exactly.
when you have like something going on or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, with the
Yeah.
folding legs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here they decide to isolate Blair because he's a danger to himself and to everyone else. So they decide to isolate him in the tool shed outside, away from everybody. Um, and here he's talking to McCready, and he's like, I don't know who to trust anymore. And McCready is like, well, trust is a hard thing to come by these days. Why don't you trust in the Lord? And he takes a swig of his vodka and like puts it back down. Uh,
I feel bad because, Blair's now, remanded to this small little cabin area. He's locked in there. He had a half a bottle of Smirnoff, and Mac just picks it up and just basically drinks half of it, puts the
right.
cap back on, sets it down, and walks
Yeah.
away. You can't even have that, Blair.
So,
Guess it goes with the punishment.
yeah, and I just want to say that there's a lot of product placement in this movie, and that's one of the scenes where when he puts the bottle of, what is it, Smirnoff or something.
It's Smirnoff, yeah.
Yeah, he like puts it down like with the label facing right at the camera. It's
Oh
just
yeah.
just
Oh yeah.
kind of funny.
A
Yeah, but
couple
yeah,
$1,000 there just for
right.
that too.
Yeah, but you feel bad for Blair because hey, at least he's got cans of beans, I guess, to
That's true. That's
snack
true.
on. But yeah, at least give him a deck of cards. He can play solitaire or
Yeah,
something.
something. Guy's just sitting there.
Um, so after that scene, they go outside and discuss, is there a way to tell who's been taken over, right? Because actually there's a scene before this where Fuchs goes out, and him and McCready have a conversation in the helicopter where Fuchs, was looking through Blair's notes, and he says the reason that Blair went crazy is he realized that the nature of the thing, right? So when they realize that, they're gathered outside, and they're like, McCready asks Dr. Copper, is there a way that is there a test that we can do to see if any of us are infected?
Mhm.
And Copper says, yeah, I think so. I'm going to make I think I was thinking about a serum test where we could take healthy blood from or take a blood sample for someone and add it to their uncontaminated sample
Mhm.
and see if there's a reaction, and that
Yeah.
will tell us who's who. Um, so they go back to the blood sample supply that they have here, and I guess which is the med lab or whatever. And when they get there, they find that someone's sabotaged the blood supply.
Hmm.
Furthermore, not only has someone sabotaged the blood supply was locked, and the only person that had a key to it was Gary, and the only one who had permission to be in the locker, the blood locker, was Copper. So
Hmm.
now everyone's suspicious about them. I will say though, if you notice, for all of these scenes, everybody's pretty active
Hmm.
except for Palmer.
Yeah.
Palmer is like following people around. He has like his earbud in his
The
ear.
earbud is in, yeah.
He doesn't really seem to be very interested in what's going on,
Mhm.
or very nervous or whatever. Although later on he does say something about Windows, but I think that's to throw the scent off. But anyway, um, so everyone's paranoia now is pointed towards Gary and Dr. Copper,
Mhm.
and Windows loses loses it a little bit, and realizing that the person that's in charge of the station might be a thing, and he goes down the hallway and breaks some glass where they have like a bunch of shotguns, and they end up with a standoff here. Gary is like, put the gun down, and Windows is like, you're gonna follow this guy, he might be the thing. uh but they
Plus,
could,
Windows had a little bit of head trauma, so
yeah.
he might be going through more than we know.
But Windows is not the most psychologically sound person in the station, it seems like. So Gary is not making the situation better by pointing the gun at him, but McCready steps up, and he seems to take control of the situation, and he convinces Windows to put the gun down, and Gary, turns back around once that's happened and points the gun at everybody else. He's like, I didn't touch that blood, but he does give up the leadership. He says, I suppose you guys would feel more comfortable if someone else was in charge for now.
And
Um,
Child steps up and goes to grab the gun that Gary put down.
well, before that, before Childs does that, they suggest Norris. They say,
That's right. That's right.
Gary says, I don't
Norris
think.
said, "I don't think I'm ready for that."
Yeah, yeah. And again, if you notice, Palmer is in the back, sort of just detached from everything.
Yeah.
And then Child says, I'll take control.
Mhm.
And McCready steps in and says, I don't think oh, actually Clark comes.
Clark pulls a knife.
Right. Clark is like, no freaking way.
Yeah.
And McCready takes the gun and takes charge.
And
So
then Clark actually hands the knife over to McCready as well,
right. So
just to give
everyone seems
McCready all the weapons.
McCready's taking charge, and everyone seems to agree that that's okay. Right. At least for now. Right. So this is that scene.
Mhm.
All right. So then when McCready takes charge, they're like, okay, we have to figure out who's who here. So we're gonna, the people that we think are suspicious,
Suspects. Yeah.
yeah, suspects. We'll just tie them up and shoot them up with morphine,
Yeah.
and keep them in the. Is this the game room where they are? I forget.
Um, I don't think it is. I think it's just like a little lounge room.
Yeah, I forget where this is, but so they lock up. Oh, we didn't mention also. When they lock Blair in the tool shed, he warns McCready about keeping an eye on Clark,
On
because
Clark.
he was with the dog from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
So they tie up Clark along with Dr. Copper and Gary as
Mhm.
well, and Norris
And no.
is given charge of them to guard them.
Mhm.
So but they as time goes on, they're not able to really figure out, what are we supposed to do? We don't know what to do.
Mhm.
We don't know how to figure out who's who. Fuchs is looking through Blair's notes, trying to figure out if there's some test that he could come up with.
Mhm.
Um, and in the midst of doing this, someone cuts the power to the office or wherever he is, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And someone passes by the doorway, and Fuchs chases him outside to
Yep.
see who it is. Speaking of which, in the scene you can see the flare that he's holding. A lot of the outdoor scenes are lit by these flares,
Mhm.
which apparently were a scourge on the set, because they would drip like stuff onto the actors' hands and like
Oh yeah,
burn
probably just
people, and the scent of it was
the
like hard to
sparks
breathe
that's
in and
given
stuff.
off.
Yeah, apparently everyone hated those things, because they were so noxious.
It's
But
nice color though.
yeah,
Gives the
oh,
scene a nice hue.
speaking of which, all the colors, the lighting in the movie is great. The
Oh yeah.
blues on the outside with the contrast of like the red flares and stuff. The color, the lighting and the colors are great.
Yeah, definitely. It's
Um,
almost like they took a little bit of giallo kind of pull from Italy,
yeah,
that that
they
that
use
whole.
they use those
Oh
colors
yeah,
a lot.
all the movies, all the giallo horror movies, especially you look into like Argento. He always used the vibrant colors.
Argento is great as
Mhm.
his cinematography is
Oh
wonderful,
yeah, that's beautiful.
and his use of colors. But Giallo is not a genre that I'm that familiar with. You're more
Mhm.
familiar with that than
Oh, we'll get into
we'll
some of
get
those.
into some of
All
them.
right.
Yeah, yeah, we'll look into some more of those types of films. Okay, so then in this scene, Fuchs walks outside chasing whoever it was that ran past his doorway, and he comes across scraps of fabric that have McCready's name on it. And we should say before this scene, it's postulated by McCready. There's a scene where he's recording kind of like an audio tape for people in case like they don't make it, right?
Captain's log.
Yeah, it's like a captain's log, I
Uh,
guess, right? um with this awesome like 80s style tape recorder, which I had a version of that when I was younger.
Little
uh
dictaphone with the
yeah,
tiny cassette tape.
yep, and me and my brother used to sing songs into it and stuff.
Nice.
But anyway, he makes he posits the theory that the thing like rips your clothes when it takes you over.
Yeah,
So
must tear your clothes off when it
um
enters you.
and there is an analogy, I think, the thing, this is just something that occurred to me while I was watching it. They have the videotape that they recover, and McCready's recording this audio tape. These are all like recordings of actual things, actual events, right?
Yeah,
Whereas the thing is a type of recorder too. It you know records the person, like the
yeah,
person's
yeah.
DNA and stuff, right?
Yep.
But anyway, Fuchs comes across the ripped clothing from McCready, which puts some suspicion on McCready, and he apparently meets whoever was the thing, whether that be Blair or someone else, and he gets torched by them. So he gets burnt, and they find his body later on. So they're searching for him. They go to Blair's tool shed, and
Bullshit.
McCready asks him if he's seen Fuchs, and Blair's like, "I want to go back inside,"
There's a noose hanging next to
right?
him. I
And
don't
nothing.
think you hear me. I want to go back inside.
It's just hilarious. Nobody even says anything about the noose. It's just like understood what,
Yeah, yeah.
but he's eating like a can of beans or something.
It's because he only had that little bit of vodka left, man.
Yeah.
If he would have hooked him up, he would have been okay.
He's like, I'm all right. Whatever was happening before, I'm better now.
I'm all over it.
And McCready is like, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. So he leaves Blair, and they've come across Fuchs's body that's been burnt, and they're like, maybe he tried to commit suicide but I don't buy that.
Well,
What?
they also mentioned maybe it was, him defending himself. He
Right.
accidentally caught
Yeah, that
fire.
makes more sense to me than, I mean, who sets themselves on fire to commit suicide? I don't know.
That's kind of painful.
Yeah. Um,
Not a way I'd want to go.
and so he sends Windows, McCready and Knowles send Windows back in to tell the others what happened to Fuchs. And in the meantime, they go up to McCready's shack because he realizes that the light is on, and the last time he was in there, the light was off.
Mhm.
So they go to McCready's shack to see what's going on over there. And Knowles comes back and says he cut McCready loose because in when they went to his shack, he realized that there was scraps of McCready's like torn clothes in there.
Jumpsuit was stuffed up in a pipe. He
Right,
said, and
right.
his I think his wood stove pipe. So
So,
they
uh,
all suspect it's McCready now
right. So
because if
everyone's
it rips your clothes off,
yeah. So McCready tries to get back in. Um, there's a scene where he's like turning the handle right
Mhm.
of the door, trying to get back in, and everyone's like, "Don't let him in."
Yeah,
uh Windows is like, Giles, but what if we're wrong about him? And Palmer says, let him in because we can kill him now, right?
yeah. He says we're
That's
right
his
here.
that's
We could
his
blast
input.
him right in this doorway.
Giles says, let him freeze to death outside,
Yeah, freeze
but
it up.
McCready breaks a window and
Hear it from afar, and you could tell he kind of went back around the other way and found a way in anyway.
mhm. And he realizes he's in the storeroom here, but Childs realizes, oh crap, the only person that has the keys is Gary, and I guess they didn't take the keys with them, so they break the door down with an axe. Uh, um, Shadows of The Shining,
Yeah, a la Jack Torrance.
right? Uh, so and then when they come into the room, McCready has taken some dynamite and lit a flare and says, if any of you come near me, I'm going to blow us all up. So they're at a standoff here as well. While this is happening, um, Norris has what seems to be a heart attack. And when this happens, he collapses in the corner, and McCready says, "Get the doctor, bring him in here." and see if we can do anything for Norris. They get the defibrillator device, and he's trying to resuscitate Norris. And as he's doing that, his hands fall into Norris's chest, and it closes on him like a bunch of teeth, which rips off his arm, leading to a great special effects scene.
Oh yeah.
One of the great set pieces of the movie.
What I will say too, I don't have the scene. It is fairly graphic, but that doesn't matter to me. But basically, the stunt man that they used for this scene was actually a double amputee. Both his arms were actually missing, so they were able to achieve the effect they were looking for without having to, make a dummy or anything along those lines. They just kind of obscured his face a bit, and he pulls up, and his arms are spurting the blood, and it's just a little factoid.
Yeah, it's a really really graphic scene.
Mm.
Really well done, and it must have
Oh yeah.
cost a lot of money to do this whole scene. But
Hmm.
so yeah, then Niles's head comes off of his body and like comes out. Does it come off the
It
top,
like
or it comes?
stretches. It's hard to explain.
It comes out from like the cavity, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and like shoots up to the roof. There's all this like goo dripping
And
down.
he's hanging. He has like these spidery arms that are like kind of
Yeah,
stuck to the ceiling.
and Mac, shoots him with the
Before you press on,
yeah,
if you don't mind staying at that slide, I
sure.
just wanted to point out that that whole glare theory,
Mm,
where if you're the thing, you will have no glare in your eyes.
yeah, that
That's debunked right here in
there you go.
this
Yeah,
scene.
yeah.
You got the glare.
Right. So Mac shoots him with the flamethrower to burn him up. And as the body is burning, the head splits off from the torso and falls down or crawls down to the floor
Mhm.
in a fantastic sequence of special effects.
It's an amazing special effects scene. This head just separates. It's
Yeah.
its own entity now. It's just separating from the body.
Um, and this is the type of thing that people just had so much issue with when
Yeah.
it first came out. So it falls down to the floor, and its tongue shoots out and wraps around like a table leg or something, and pulls itself towards the table.
Mhm.
And then it ends up sprouting like these crab legs, and sprouts these two eye stalks,
Mhm.
and it's making this horrifying sound,
Yeah.
like breathing, like moaning or whatever, as it's like trying to run away.
And we
Oh,
missed the scene, but
yeah, yeah.
it.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Mac winds up hitting it with the blowtorch,
But
and
before that, Palmer has his favorite his classic comedy line from the movie, which
go ahead.
is "You gotta be fucking kidding me" when he sees the.
I I'd probably have the same reaction. I think it's hideous. What an invention. The special effects in this movie were
They're
fantastic.
fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
So after that scene, Matt McCready gets the idea that seeing the way that Norris's body reacted,
Mhm.
that every piece of someone who's infected by the thing is a unified whole, right?
Mhm.
So every cell of the thing would have a defense,
Yeah,
would have an instinctual
its
pre-
own
pre-
cognitive. Yeah.
like to preserve its life, right? So he uses that idea to come up with a test. This is the scene I was referring to in the beginning. Burt Lancaster, was that the name of the screenwriter? Came to John Carpenter with this idea of this blood test that they do, and that's what convinced John Carpenter to actually sign on to the project and make
Right.
the
So
film.
it's a harrowing scene.
Yeah, yeah, done really well. And what McCree's idea is since all of the cells of the thing are an individual organism that has the instinct to preserve its life, that if you take a sample of blood and do something to it, like try to burn it with a hot wire, it will move away from the wire to defend itself, right? All
Fight
this
or
stuff,
flight. Yeah.
right? So they decide to tie everybody up and take blood samples from everybody, and that's exactly what he does. And one by one, they go through the different blood samples to see who's who, and they find out first that not Knowles is okay. He passes the test, and he gets untied and gets a flamethrower and helps Mac out. Then they do McCready next, and he says, "I'll show you what I know already," and he does the test to him, and nothing happens. Then they do Clark and the doctor. Sorry, Clark and yeah, Clark and the doctor. Right. I didn't talk about the scene where he shoots Clark.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, no, yeah, we forgot that part.
so before they're sort of before this scene, they're struggling with McCready because none of them want to be tied up, and Clark sort of tries to attack McCready, and he has to shoot him in the head.
He just comes up with a quick shot right to the head, and
Which I heard they actually they had to do that shot with using blanks, and blanks are dangerous even though they're not
yeah.
bullets, and they were very worried about doing that scene because he's like point blank
Mhm.
when he shoots him. um
And I wanted to note too, this is the game room, and you'll notice in the back, way in the back, next to the pinball machine in that image, is the pool table that they've moved from under the light
mhm.
that everyone's sitting under, and the bodies of Clark and is it
Copper.
the charred room? Is it Copper's on the table there? Yeah.
Yeah. um which actually, looking at this right now, I didn't realize it at the time, but that kind of reminds me Invasion of the Body Snatchers too, because there's a scene where they put a body that's changing, that's been infected. They put the body on a pool table.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the original one from the 50s.
Mhm.
Yeah, so now they're doing the test. They test Copper and they test Clark, and they both pass. And Childs tells McCready, so Clark was all right. So you're a murderer. Then they try do they do Clark? No, they do Childs after the big scene, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So Gary says this is bullshit. This isn't gonna tell us anything. And McCready says, "Well, you're the only one that had access to the keys, so we'll test you last."
Mhm.
Sort of like diverting your attention away from the fact that they're going to test Palmer next. Palmer makes this facial expression like, "Oh, the jig is up," and
Mhm.
when he does the test, it's Palmer is the thing.
Yeah.
So he, again, there's another great special effects sequence here where Palmer, changes and stuff sprouts out of him and stuff. He ends up jumping up to the ceiling. I think you have
Yeah. I have a couple images of that. So that's just showing the blood test there.
yeah, and also just a fact here. If you're watching the movie, if you notice, because of the special effect that happens where the blood jumps out of the petri dish,
Yeah.
the hand over here is actually fake, which you can tell if you know to look for it in the scene.
Mhm.
Yeah, so here the blood jumps out of the petri dish, and then Palmer starts changing and freaking out. We have let me make some space so people can see this shot better. This is a funny scene too. Like there's a lot of gore and stuff here, but it's also kind of funny because a lot of the scenes, like especially when he eats windows a second from now. So first he jumps up to the ceiling.
Which is very reminiscent of Jeff Goldblum in The Fly.
Yeah,
Just
which is a movie that we'll talk about at some point.
definitely.
Yeah. So his head splits open, Windows freezes and is unable to shoot him, and the head splits open into this like giant jaw, and it eats Windows' head,
Mhm.
and starts he starts like flopping around with Windows' body, and you could see that it's obviously a dummy.
Yeah, the legs
As
are just
yeah,
flailing all
it's kind of funny, but
unnaturally.
like I said, charming at the same time. That
Definitely, definitely.
And then they burn Palmer with the flamethrower. McCready gets his hand on Windows's flamethrower because his ran out of fuel, and he burns him and he runs out the door. And we don't have a shot of it, but what happens is McCready throws a bunch of dynamite out after him, and it explodes. And if you look in the scene, Kurt Russell says in the commentary that he didn't expect the explosion to be that big, but when you watch the scene, the explosion is so large it actually throws him against the door of the station there. It's it was he
For,
did, like you said,
forced realism.
right, right. And then they burn Windows, unfortunately, as well. And I think Mike said if you look, there's like a game that says numbers up or something on the side here. I guess Windows's number
His number is
is up.
up. And their entire book collection is gone in one fell swoop.
Yeah,
It's kind of sad.
that hurts me deeply.
Mm.
Yeah. Also all their board games too.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, we I guess we don't have a shot of it, but then they also test Childs. He passes, and he says, "Get me off of this couch," right? 'Cause they're all tied up next to Palmer when he's freaking out. And then lastly, they test Gary, who also passes, and he's like, "If you gentlemen wouldn't mind, I'd prefer not to spend the rest of the winter tied to this fucking couch."
And he's shaking.
Yeah.
Such a great scene. Love it.
So everyone gets untied, and they go out to give the test to Blair. We don't have a shot of it here too, but before they go out to give the test to Blair, they tell Childs to stand watch of the station. So he's standing watch, as they go out, and they tell him, if you see Blair without us, burn him. Right.
Hmm.
So they go to check on Blair, and when they go up to the tool shed, they notice that the door is open and Blair is nowhere to be found. But as they're exploring the tool shed, they find that there's some planks in the door.
The
Sorry, not in the door,
floorboards.
in the floor that are loose. And they go down. And they notice that Blair has dug this giant tunnel and brought all this equipment down and has started work building what looks like a tiny UFO.
Yeah. Try to get home, I guess,
Yeah. So now they know that Blair is one of the things. They blow up the spaceship. And actually, we're missing a bunch of stuff in between, but
Yeah.
they blow up the spaceship and they decide, we're not getting out of here alive. We're going to have to destroy the station so that the thing can't, freeze itself and get defrosted when a rescue team comes. They realize that they have to sacrifice themselves to save the rest of the world. So they start planting charges around the station because they're going to blow everything up. When they go back to the station, they realize that Childs is not there,
Hmm.
and the door is wide open to the station where Childs was supposed to be standing guard. They set their charges and everything, and as they're doing that, Blair appears behind Gary
Hmm.
and sticks his hand in his
Yeah.
face.
His fingers just kind of puncture his face skin.
Yeah,
And it's a crazy effect because it's just moving around and it looks really realistic.
and he does that to take him over, and also it muffles Gary's cries so no one knows that he's being taken. And then you see him dragging Gary's body, like with his hand morphed into his face and
Yeah,
everything.
part of them.
Yeah. And then Knowles disappears, and McCready is like, "Hey, where is everybody?" And he lights a stick of dynamite, and the thing comes up through the floor. And again, there's another great set piece here. You can see the half of the face is Blair's face, and it
Mhm.
it like morphs into all these pieces. There's a tentacle that comes up through the floor. It's very Lovecraftian.
Definitely.
Um,
That's because he couldn't get his Quaker oats. I'm telling you,
that diabetes is a killer.
it'll make you mean.
So the thing takes the what is it called, like the thing that you push down that blows up the charges, the detonator the
Plunger
detonator
or
Yeah,
detonator.
the
Yeah.
detonator. So McCready doesn't have access to it, but he still has the stick of dynamite in his hand. So he throws it to blow up all the dynamite that they left throughout the base, and he says, "Fuck you too,"
Hmm.
and he runs out, and the station explodes and everything is destroyed.
Hmm.
And as the base is burning up around them, McCready makes his way to this little part over here that's outside, and he rests on some canisters or something, and he looks like he is. Oh, can you hear me? Oh, am
Now
I
you're
back?
cutting out a little. You are back.
Okay, so McCready looks like he's about to take a swig of the J&B, bottle of J&B, and hears a noise to the side and turns around, and it's Childs with his flamethrower, and he says, "You're the only one that survived?" And Max says, "Not the only one."
Hmm.
And we're left with the conundrum about who is who, right?
That's it.
Um,
It's
so
it's a very open ending. It leads you open to many interpretations,
mhm.
and there's a lot flying around.
So Mac offers him the bottle of JMB, and in my mind, I don't know who's if any of them are the thing here, but I know that if I was human in this scene, I probably wouldn't take the JMB from him. I wouldn't want to, share a bottle. Maybe Childs at this point thinks that they're doomed anyway, so who cares? Um, but he takes a swig from it. Mac gives this like knowing kind of smirk. And again, I don't know what that means. Maybe he thinks if the tables were turned, I wouldn't drink the bottle. So maybe Mac thinks the Childs is the thing. Maybe he isn't. Who knows? It's uh you know it's a mystery. We don't know who how.
Yeah, and John Carpenter hasn't confirmed it either. Apparently he's been asked before, and um, I mean, there's several theories. There's a theory that Mac is the thing. There's this theory that he has been spreading around, you know, um, more of the thing via his J&B bottle.
Mhm.
There's a lot of holes to be punched in that, though. There would be no reason for him to have killed um, Blair if that was his species. Why would he try to kill off one of his own?
Yeah, that wouldn't make
uh, it
sense.
wouldn't make sense. And
Yeah,
then I've heard the theory as well about the J&B bottle actually containing gasoline. It was to be used as a
a Molotov
Molotov, and
cocktail.
he
Yeah.
tests Childs by handing it to him, knowing that the thing, being a creature that has never drank alcohol or gasoline, wouldn't be able to tell the difference between the two and would just play it off. Um, I don't see either of those panning off because um, as you stated earlier to me as we were speaking before this, you see Mac go to take a swig when he's interrupted by Childs showing up.
Hmm.
So that also kind of pokes a hole in that theory,
The other thing is, I again, I'm not really sure about Childs because it's just him and Mac here. If he was the thing, why wouldn't he just, attack him? There-
especially if he has a live flamethrower in his hands,
yeah, and
picking him out right away.
Mac doesn't have any way to defend himself. So, yeah,
Right? They
I
both
don't know.
tell each other, I guess we're tired,
Yeah, and he's like, I guess we'll just wait here for a while.
and they kind of resign to their fate at that point.
Yeah,
And we don't find out what happened to them, unfortunately.
yeah, and that's how the movie ends. I think is that the end of the. Yeah, here we go.
Had the two kind of looking at each other.
Yeah. Now there was one thing that we didn't really have a discussion about, which is the mystery of who just sabotaged the blood bank, right?
Yeah, yeah,
We don't really know who did that. But you mentioned that there's they make the point of in that scene where Windows drops the keys, you can hear him drop the keys. There's an interim where Gary doesn't have them; they're just sitting on the floor
yeah.
in the storeroom. Um, at that point, who do we know that actually is a thing? We maybe Palmer is at that
Yeah.
point. Uh, maybe Blair is. We don't know.
And
Uh,
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Palmer, I'm sure would be at that point. Blair, possibly,
I mean, I could see maybe Blair doing that to make sure that the thing doesn't have access to more genetic
was
material. I,
Norris was still alive at that point, right?
yeah, remember because Norris was taken over when Windows was going to get the keys.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
So, yeah, I don't know. And when I was watching the commentary too, when James, I'm sorry, John Carpenter was talking with Kurt Russell, he was saying that we don't really know either.
Yeah, yeah,
And I think a lot of people have theories about this movie just like they do about The Shining. Um, who's who and whatnot. There's a lot of theories floating around. I don't know that John Carpenter really had an idea about what I think he left little clues, but I don't know that the clues necessarily link together, just like the chess game, like I said.
yeah.
you know um
think some people are looking a little too deeply
It's possible, or
for
maybe
something that
maybe
may not be there, you know. But
maybe he did have an idea and he just doesn't want to tell us. He wants us to think about it. I don't know.
sure,
But it sure is fun to watch and to take part in the paranoia and try to figure out the mystery as
definitely,
you go along.
a
But
very bloody whodunit.
yeah. Okay. And that's the thing. Let me just see. There's a couple other things I think that maybe wanted to say.
Yeah, definitely. And I just
Uh,
wanted to touch on,
yeah,
some
go for it. Go for
special
it.
effects. And I just wanted to mention, we talked about Rob Bottin doing the effects. He's very prominent in the effects world. It, a lot of this I didn't even know. He worked on 1976's King Kong. He worked on 1977 Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. 1980s John Carpenter's The Fog, so he was able to work with Carpenter again. 81's The Howling. 88's Legend with Tom Cruise, wonderful movie. 87's RoboCop, 1990's Total Recall, as well as 1998's Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, where he actually created the lounge lizards when Johnny Depp as Hunter S. Thompson first arrives at the hotel, and he's taken some LSD and he starts seeing everyone around him as these lizard creatures. Those were creations of Rob Bottin as well.
I
Um,
love that movie.
I do too. One of my all time
Did
favorites.
you ever see Where the Buffalo Roam?
I did. I did.
Where
Yeah, Bill
Bill
Murray.
Murray plays Hunter S. Thompson.
That was a great one
That's
too.
another good one too.
But Rob Bottin, he's up there with like Greg Nicotero and Tom Savini for me.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
He's one of the all time greats.
that's one of the. I mean, that's one of the things that makes this movie so notable is not only the script is great too, the feeling of paranoia, but the special effects are just
Oh yeah.
such a feast for for a horror fan's eyes, right?
And for the time it was back then, they did a wonderful job, like really, really stunning job.
Um, let me see. There are some notes here that I forgot to mention as we were going through the movie.
Mhm.
I did mention Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which is very similar to this type of theme, right? The 1950s version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers is actually one of my favorite movies. Maybe at some point in the future we'll do that
It's a great
on the
movie. I'd love
channel.
to. Yeah.
Um, but also Invaders from Mars has a common theme too of people being taken over by an alien. Um, there is a scene that we unfortunately we didn't have a photo of Knowles rolling around in like roller skates, and there's I guess he's the cook, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Knowles.
and he has the headband, the sweatband on his head.
Right, it's so 80s, and
So 80s.
he's listening to "I Ain't Superstitious"
Yeah, yeah. Stevie
on a
Wonder.
boombox. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
So awesome.
so 80s.
He's like
Um,
roller skating backwards in the kitchen.
mhm.
It's such a great
Yeah,
scene.
he's just wearing his roller skates everywhere.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to mention is these last two movies that we did, The Shining um The Thing, are movies that they watch as a double feature in the stations in Antarctica at the beginning of the winter season. So, for example, at the Amundsen Scott South Pole Station, um, if you don't know anything about the science stations down in Antarctica, when winter comes in Antarctica, it's like 6 months of darkness, and there's the weather is terrible there. So what happens is the majority of the people in the stations there during the winter leave before the winter starts, and they leave a skeleton crew in the stations to maintain the bases and everything. And those winter crews have this um what's the word, like this thing they do at the beginning of
Like a
every winter.
celebration or
Yeah,
inaugural
yeah,
or
yeah.
commemoration, or what do they do to ships when they break the bottle on them?
I
It's
don't
like,
I don't remember what that's called,
yeah, I
but
don't either. I think it's the same word though.
they christen a ship with the
Oh
bottle.
yeah, maybe not then.
But yeah, but anyway, it's like a ritual or something, right?
Yeah,
There's you can actually see tours through these stations too, which I recommend. They're really interesting. We live in one.
yeah, we do.
But there's a basketball court in the South Pole station, the Amundsen Scott station. and they can convert it into a movie theater. So they bring the thing down and they set up chairs, and
Oh,
everyone that's in the winter over skeleton crew watches The Shining and The Thing
man,
in Antarctica with the
that's some experience.
yeah, right.
I would love to volunteer to work. I'd go out there for
Yeah,
months.
me too. I can Hey, I can flip flapjacks if they need.
Exactly. I'll do whatever they need. Just get me out, in the middle of nowhere with solitude.
Yeah,
Oh, love it.
I would do that. That would be an interesting winter to
Definitely, definitely.
I don't think that's something that they just let anybody do, though,
Oh
unfortunately.
no, no, I tried applying in high school.
Oh, did you?
I actually wrote them a long email. I said I'm willing to just volunteer. I don't have any scientific background, but I will do whatever you want me to do. Never heard back.
They were like, yeah, no.
Yeah, nah.
Um, so that's the thing. I don't know if you have anything left that you want to say. Otherwise, I think I'm done for this
I'm,
installment.
did we cover the music?
The music is
Yes,
fantastic.
we did cover the music. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Ennio Morricone. The music in this movie reminds me also of the music in one of my favorite movies, Aliens. Aliens came after this movie in '86. This movie came out '82, but a lot of it, the music is reminiscent to me of Aliens, and I wonder if what's his name, James Cameron. Obviously, the thing had an influence on
Oh,
Aliens,
had
right?
to have. Yeah.
Also, the thing from Another World had an influence on the first movie, Alien,
Mhm.
but maybe they took some influence from Ennio Morricone's soundtrack for this movie for Aliens, because a lot of the music is similar to me. But yeah, that last song at the end, when the movie ends and the credits start coming up with the
Uh,
dun dun ch, ch, dun dun. That's a great
that
soundtrack.
building, that synth sound,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
synth bass.
right.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, the soundtrack is great for this movie.
Real tension building.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I guess that's it, unless you have any last things that you want to say.
If
Um,
you liked what you saw, please feel free to like and subscribe.
like,
Uh,
subscribe, hit the bell icon, and I guess we'll end the transmission here, and we'll see you in the next one. Uh, that's it.
Live long and prosper.
All right, stay spooky, everybody.